Hi, and welcome to the Cosmic Hour, where we talk about anything astrology. And today we're going to be talking about the Pluto ingression to Aquarius. So we have some amazing information to share in regard to how this is going to show up in our lives. We couldn't put everything in one episode because then it will be a very long episode. So we're going to be publishing several episodes with more information, and I hope you stay tuned and enjoy it. But right now, we're pretty much trying to capture this essence of Pluto going into Aquarius. There's a lot of information out there, and Emma and I wanted to give you our perspective on how we are seeing this Pluto in Aquarius show up and how it's going to also assist humanity, because ultimately the energy of Aquarius is humanity, and Pluto transiting this area, this archetype, really is going to bring in from the hidden, like things that are deep in the subconscious of not just the individual, but humanity itself. A lot of these secrets are going to come out, and then it's going to shape our beliefs. It's going to shape our consciousness. So I'm very excited about this Pluto and Aquarius transit. And as we speak, I'm going to show you why, because there's some cool things that we've discovered in doing our research in preparing for this podcast. So first, um, this is mainly centered on Aquarius's impact on technology, and we're going to do a special focus on Pluto in Aquarius. So we are going to touch in on how there's been innovations, and not just necessarily the technology that we're used to, like, oh, an iPhone or, a computer. There's also other advancements that led us here, and one of them being the light bulb, electricity, right? So that's a technology that we pretty much take for granted now. We need electricity, and the only time we're like paying it any mind is when we don't have electricity into our home. We're like, oh, I can't get on the internet. But it is a form of technology, because before that we had to use candles for light. And now, with this innovation of electricity through a light bulb, we don't use fire as light at night. As at night, we use it through this mechanism, this light bulb invention, which is so simple, yet we still use it, and it's so useful for us. And I found this quote in doing my research: electricity is just organized lightning. So I thought that was very cute. And even the word lightning here doesn't even follow the the spelling rules. When I was looking at the word and all blown up, I'm like, wait a minute, did I spell that right? I have Mercury and Neptune square in my chart. So spelling is not like my strongest. I'm a very creative writer. I communicate really well. But when it comes to spelling, it's like a blur to me. So I've always struggled with that. But yes, I spell checked, and this is how you spell lightning. But either way, just like tuning into the statement, energy's just organized lightning. I started getting all these visions of like, oh yeah, whenever, just say, a cable wire gets cut, or a tree falls on it, etc., we see arcs of electricity, and at that point it becomes disorganized and very dangerous. However, there's something so beautiful that we don't necessarily notice as we're driving by, when we see these wires, that lightning is actually, or electricity is actually traveling through it, and it's organized, and it's something that needs to also find grounding. So it goes deep into the earth. There's grounding posts, so the electricity can stay in this organized fashion. So I appreciate this. My husband's actually in this field, in the electrical field. So I learned a lot about electricity. And this is how I feel the energy of Aquarius is going to be. It's going to be very brain stimulating for us, yet there's something deep into our subconscious that's going to unlock and give us epiphanies of ideas and inspiration. And that's why I'm looking forward to this Pluto in Aquarius transit. Anything you'd like to mention? I know you've been silent back there. Sorry I didn't get to invite you sooner than now.
So yeah, this quote, I think this quote really represents the energy of Aquarius really well. And Interestingly enough, Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb, is an Aquarius. He actually has the Sun and Mercury and Neptune in Aquarius. So I just think that quote represents what we're going to talk about really well.
Wow. And I mean, back in the days, wouldn't that be considered like magic? Like just like you said Neptune and Aquarius, and Neptune brings this dreamy quality and also very like subtle and sneaky, right? It's like not sneaky like being like a type of sneaky that's trying to deceive you, which might, it can, but it's more like subtle. It's like, oh, you didn't even notice. And I feel like that's how electricity has been, light has been to us in our households. We really don't notice until it's missing. It's like a magic trick. Like it's on, it's off, I don't
Yeah.
know. That it's so suiting that the inventor of the light bulb has those placements, honestly. And we ended up controlling electricity with our hands. Mercury in Aquarius, a light on switch, light off switch, magic. Either way. Um, so now getting into the archetype of Aquarius. And this is how I like to structure my teaching. I like to do it very foundationally. I love to teach astrology. I have Jupiter in Capricorn. So those steps, like the layered steps to attain knowledge, I really love to teach that way. So um, first, let's tune into this Aquarius energy. A lot of people, when they're first learning astrology, think that Aquarius is a water sign, but it's not. It's actually an air sign. But there's water in our air. It's not as dense as our actual water. So it's a different consistency, but we have moisture in the air. And this pretty much encompasses that moisture. We're talking about having knowledge, water, and there's plenty of research that Japanese scientist, I forgot his name, it's not coming coming to me right now. He studied water and he concluded that water carries memory. And if we're tapping into this energy of Aquarius and connecting that to having water, like little droplets of water throughout our air that provide moisture to us, then which is oxygen, right? Because water is H2O and air is oxygen, or there's different, types of air out there, but the one that we breathe that we require is oxygen. So that's also mixed in the air itself. But if we look at that and we conclude that water is able to carry knowledge, and then we have that same component that creates water, H2O, we also have O in our air, then of course that knowledge is also around in the air, in the ethers, and we're able to capture that knowledge to attain inspiration. I just wanted to share how the Aquarius energy does tap into this very deep collective, it's a collective union, and it's supposed to work for the higher good of humanity, of all people versus an individual. And it also brings intelligence. I really feel that this is where we get the brilliant people, or that's why we have a lot of individuals that create advancements, create technology, and they might not be an Aquarius sun, but they'll have very strong Uranian and Aquarian placements, like the 11th house is an Aquarius house. Uranus is a modern ruler of Aquarius, but also Saturn. Saturn's an ancient ruler. So we'll see a lot of like either aspects to like Saturn and Uranus, or they have a lot of planets in the 11th house, or Uranus is making aspects to the big three. You just see this very prominent and inventive people because they're tapping into this knowledge, this memory that's maybe passed down for centuries and hundreds of years, since the existence of humanity, since the existence of intelligence and curiosity, because that's another energy that Aquarius carries. It's like curious to evolve what is functioning now, but evolve it for the betterment, for the good of all. And sometimes these science experiments, they're not necessarily created for the good of all, but the main intention was to provide some benefit, like, and then it ends up being a double-edged sword where we invent something that's not necessarily supportive for our evolution, but it did open the door to a new experience. Like an example, cars. I love cars. We're able to teleport with cars. We're able to go from one place to another that before we weren't able to do. However, they also cause a lot of damage to the environment. So there's always an advantage and disadvantage in tapping into this higher knowledge, this higher collective. However, if we're able to balance it, that is where that beauty comes. And I feel like this picture just really explains that, right? It's like a very balancing, soothing energy. And we're seeing this connection from the cosmos, and then it's being transmuted to get grounded on Earth, because water and Earth kind of share similar space. Water goes into Earth, and Earth is water's vessel, right? So we see how the air is able to get to those crevices through transmuting through that knowledge of the water. Some keywords about Aquarius: um, freedom, evolution, progressiveness, innovation, idealistic, detachment, futuristic, visionary. It's centered on the collective. It's also the house that is connected to friends. So it's a friendly sign, and it's very unconventional. It rules networks, net worth. Um, so you can see that it inspires versus grounds. It seeks freedom versus being restrained. However, still needs to be able to be anchored in. So these are some of the keywords for Aquarius. Now, this is a graphic I created to capture the essence of Pluto. And Pluto is all about transforming. And one of the key phrases that Pluto is known for is the phoenix rising from the ashes. And this is why I included these phoenixes and like this like energy of like rising up and really unlocking your subconscious, unlocking your soul, unlocking your DNA, because Pluto rules DNA. So some of the key words for Pluto are transformational, secrets, evolution, very penetrating, very intense, investigative, um, seeks power and control, rules the cycle of rebirth and death. It's regenerating. So, and it's also connected to the subconscious. It's connected to deep trauma, deep fears, psychic abilities. So these are some of the key words of Pluto. And now I created this picture to capture the essence of Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. So now we have this very deep, penetrating, unlocking of the subconscious, meaning meeting the intelligence of humanity. So we're having it joined together. This is why we have now the birds soaring in the ethers, right? And we have this concentration, like even like Reiki like energy from, this is supposed to be Hades, from Hades tapping into the ethers. Hades rules the underworld. Hades rules another sector that we don't get to visit unless we've passed on, while Aquarius rules the heavens. So this is an expression of the only time that Pluto gets to tap into something that is not as grounding as he's used to. Like he's not going under, he's going to the ethers, and he has to do it through a soul journey. So this is where we're stepping into, and as a society, we're going into this era where we're going to evolve, not just our lives like through tech, through any type of technological advancements, but we're also going to evolve our soul and our consciousness. And we can do great things. We can raise great people. We can be great people during this time and change the trajectory that we've kind of set up, where we continue the same patterns of our tribal ancestors, where we try to take over other nations and things like that. We can change that and learn to live together as an entire community, like a community of the world versus a community centered on certain areas having greater power, certain kingdoms having greater power. So
I
some
really like,
Mhm.
sorry, I really like that picture. I think when I think of Pluto in Aquarius, I think this picture reflects exactly what I picture for Pluto in Aquarius, or just the age of Aquarius in general. Did you create this yourself? Like, this is amazing.
Yes, I did.
Like, this is my first time like really looking at this picture, like wow, like even like that futuristic vision, yet there's that advancement for humanity and like as a society also. Like this is exactly what I have in mind when I picture Pluto in Aquarius.
Well, I'm gonna say something that maybe some people are controversial about, but I'm very open to it. So I actually studied graphic art and visual communication design. I have a bachelor's in arts and advertising. That's like it was marketing, it was my thing. I wanted to grow up and make commercials. That's what I wanted to do. I mean, my life led me a whole different way, but I still had that skill and that training. I still went through that formal education. So I'm not one that shies away with using technology because I already learned to use technology. I was trained in Adobe platform, so I used like Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, and made things from scratch. But now we have AI that's creating beautiful artwork. And this is my artwork. Yes, I had assistance from AI, but I directly directed it what I want it to look like. So it's like building, you type a very um detailed paragraph and you co-create with AI. So I said, capture this. I want you to use these colors. I want you to connect to the energy of transformation. I want when people see this to really have the connection of the ethers and the underworld. So it's a huge paragraph that I created and which is totally Aquarius energy, right? It's writing. We're writing it down and then we're using the energy of art through the written word. So it really, I think AI, the AI platforms that are allowing you to create artwork this way, um, they're really tapping into a picture says 1,000 words. They're reversing that where 1,000 words creates this picture. And I am in love with it. So, so yeah, I know there's a lot of controversial things out there about using AI for artwork. However, I'm one that is going to give this opinion and you guys have the freedom to disagree with me. But think of when computers were introduced into our society, and I'm a millennial, so I'm a older millennial. I grew up with computers, not as much as my kids, my Gen Z kids are growing up with technology, but I still, we millennials are encouraging technology with our kids. Like we're using technology because we used it ourselves, and we're either going to use it or be left behind. The same thing, that's why I have like this computer, right? And this like this person
Mhm.
um like still being part of this computing world, because no matter what, even like thinking like the baby boomers, my mom's a baby boomer, she's the tail end, my dad's a baby boomer. They didn't really use technology. They didn't get brought up with technology. And even when we were growing up, they were not too fond of technology. They were kind of afraid of it and like, oh no, they didn't want to learn it. And now they're seeing that they should have. And a lot of them have these regrets like, I should have learned how to use this. I should have learned technology and computers more because I see it never went away. It just got faster. It evolved quicker. And it's like now we have a computer on our phone. We don't think of it that way, but I actually manage most of my business on my iPhone.
Yeah.
Like almost everything I do on my iPhone. There's very limited things that I sit down and do on my iMac or my laptop. I just
Yes.
don't because
Mhm.
I like it. I like to be on the go. And I mean, I have a phone that pretty much does almost all the functionalities of a computer. So I learned to utilize it like that. And there's a lot of my colleagues that are business owners that also don't do that. They're like, how could you do it? I was like, you just get used to it. You have a smaller screen, but you still get used to doing it. And it's much quicker, more effective. I mean, I'm at my son's basketball games in the bleachers and I'm working on PowerPoint presentations or outlining agendas for things that I want to teach or whatever, creating my course. Like I'm doing everything on the go. And this is because I adapted to technology. So I feel we have to embrace it. I feel AI is here to stay. And maybe there's a lot of fear mongering about it because it is crazy, like magician style. You type in something in and then this like info comes out and you're like, what the
Yeah,
fuck? But it's not going anywhere. And if we
yeah,
don't
it's
learn
not.
it, we're going to be left behind. And that's that. So even with my children, I'm teaching them how to use it and use it in a responsible way because there's ways to, we can plagiarize with it. It's, I mean, the information is there. So there's ways to use it more as inspiration. It can be like a rough draft and we can get inspired and then use our own words to create a report or, get ideas from it. So it's like co-collaborating with it. So then we can be at our best. It's like reading a book. You read a book, you get the knowledge you read from the book, and then you can create something from it. Or you change your life, right? And as you're changing your life, you're creating a new life. Same thing. We're just having it much quicker at the palm of our hands, but it's similar to Googling. We would Google, like, how do you do this? And then we would read an article. Well, AI is doing the same thing. It's just spitting it out more directly to us. So we just have to learn to use it. But yeah, I know we have a lot of people and they're becoming opinionated because there is a lot of things out there that are showing, oh, it's scary. They can copy your voice. So this can do this. And yes, it can do all that, but we have to learn how to use it so then we can protect ourselves versus being scared of it and shying away from it and not learning how to use it and then being stuck in a hard place or between what is it, a hard place in a rock in a hard place. There you go. Because we didn't evolve ourselves by learning it. I mean, some of us are not going to be uh creating code. I know I'm not, but I'm definitely going to be using it. So at least I'm going to understand that, that side of it. Years ago, I helped my son build his own computer. And I'm pretty computer savvy. And I told him, look, I know how to work on computers. I'm very computer savvy, but when it comes to building them, you're talking foreign language to me. So let's go on YouTube, show me videos, let's see what we're doing. And we build it together. And I can say I built the computer with him because I showed them the steps. Like, I will buy you all these parts. I just need to know you know how to do it. So show me what you're gonna do. And I was like, show me in videos. What are you gonna do next? And he put everything, this playlist together and showed me at the end he was gonna have this computer. And I was like, okay, so we went and we got all these pieces and all these parts, and he built this amazing computer. And I'm just like, whoa. So he took it to a different level. I've always taught my kids technology and speech to text and they also had special needs. So I used a lot of technology to assist them so they can learn easier, like to take shortcuts and facilitate their work. So for me, when AI was introduced as something that we can utilize, um, I was a go. So that's my opinion. Sorry, I went on a little rant, but as you can see, I'm pro AI. I'm pro Pluto and Aquarius. Um, so now going into Pluto and Aquarius keywords, what it's going to happen: societal transformation, revolutionary change, control versus freedom, or even a controlled freedom. Because, as a society, I'm all about freedom. I love freedom. I have Uranus conjunct my South Node. However, we do need some type of control and structure. So everything has to be with a beautiful balance, right? If we are too free, then we don't have that structure. We don't have that nice control over our life. It's going to feel very unpredictable. So everything, we need to have like a little bit of everything to have the perfect recipe. So even with control and freedom, there's just like something that's going to work together during this time. And
But
say, mhm.
no, I was gonna say it's a good thing that also Aquarius is also ruled by Saturn. So even though yes, we have that Uranus element with Aquarius, Saturn, there's also Saturn that has that structure and like controlled freedom, if you want, with Saturn and Uranus.
Exactly. And it goes back to the same quote that I found: electricity is just organized lightning. Electricity only works because it's controlled, but yet there's freedom that is flowing there. So we allow the lightning or that electricity to flow in a controlled direction, but it has its freedom to exist, and it can go different places and light up different places, go through different wires, which we can consider crevices, right? So it has to be a beautiful marriage between these two words. And during the Pluto and Aquarius, we're going to see that even more. Um, Also humanitarian reforms. I mean, what else do you expect for Pluto and Aquarius this time?
I think, me personally, I think yes, we're gonna see a lot of that technological advancements, but also I feel as a society, like there's gonna be more um power to the individuals, like individual and yeah, individual people are going to start taking their own power, and it's not just going to be like the big corporates only. It's going to give opportunity also for regular people to, you know, build their own not empire, but build their own businesses as well, or their own legacy in a way.
Yes, and it doesn't have to be something that's like worth $1 billion. A lot of us don't even I mean, at least I don't want to be a billionaire. I'm okay with being a millionaire. And I don't want to be a multimillionaire either. I feel like as long as I have a comfortable life and something like a legacy to leave for my children, that's enough. And that could be something close to a million or whatever. But I mean, as this inflation keeps going up, I'm $1 million isn't going to be anything anymore. That's how I was like,
Yeah.
I'm okay with being a millionaire, but Pluto and Aquarius is going to make sure that evens out. That
Yeah,
and
exactly.
as we were preparing for this podcast, Emma and I were discussing the stages of Pluto in the signs, and as of now, we only have a few people, we can say a few thousand people out of the billions um alive that have Pluto in Cancer. And the next big group, next big population is Pluto in Leo. And that first started happening with anyone being born October 7th of 1937 and after. And we listed all the ingressions here, so you can take a look at that. But we were talking about this, and I brought up something about companies that were established during this time. There's a lot of old companies that were established during the Pluto and Leo transit, and they went into power. They took power through being the king or the leader in that industry. And now that Pluto's going into Aquarius, they're either going to have to innovate, they're going to have to delegate, or we're going to see their company um go obsolete. I mean, it's just not going to exist anymore because they're going to go through this Pluto opposition, this transformation. So it's not just even the people, like anything that gets established during a time, it takes that cosmic blueprint, and that becomes its birth, the birth of a business, the birth of an idea. Like it becomes its blueprint, and then it has to go through evolution, it has to go through change. Similarly, like to vehicles, and I'm bringing up vehicles because I think they were Henry Ford created vehicles around this time, around this 1912 to 1937 era. Maybe I'm a little off, but either way, we look at the wheel, we look at that vehicle. Those vehicles look nothing like the vehicles now. And we're going to talk about one of the inventors or the owners of a very advanced vehicle later on. But yeah, it has to evolve, it has to change, it has to be modified. So we're going to see a lot of the people with either Pluto in Leo natally, or companies that have Pluto in Leo needing to evolve the way that they've been doing, the way that they've been seeking power or coming into power um through this Pluto in Aquarius, because it's breaking down. It's breaking down. There's tension. And some of these infrastructures actually broke down during Pluto and Scorpio when it squared the energy of Leo. So we're going to just see a repeat. Whoever lasted through Pluto and Scorpio, and both Emma and I are Pluto and Scorpio generation. um and a lot of things happen during Pluto and Scorpio. I think it's one of the most intense Pluto expressions that we've
Oh
seen
yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that's another conversation. Like I said, we're going to be doing another podcast about your natal Pluto placement and how it's going to express itself um in Aquarius. So check that out. And if you're catching this on the replay, the video might be up. So check the link in the comments to check that out. But yeah, I mean, whatever survived that Pluto in Scorpio transit during the Pluto in Aquarius is another test. So now here are all the Pluto entries into the sign of Aquarius, and we're just going to run really quickly so Emma can get to all the juicy stuff, all the celebrity stuff she collected, like some cool examples for us of this Aquarian archetype in different expressions. But we first had Pluto go into Aquarius March 23rd of 2023. And then it left Aquarius and it entered back into Capricorn on June 11th of 2023. And now we're at January 20th of 2024, where it's going back into Aquarius for the second time. And then on September 1st of 2024, it goes back into Capricorn, stays at 29 degrees. And then November 19th of 2024, it goes back into Aquarius and it will stay until 2043 in Aquarius until it starts doing the dance with Pisces. So the first chart we wanted to look at is the initial ingression of Pluto going into Aquarius, and this happened March 23rd of 2023. And I mean, the first thing that I noticed was Pluto was in the first house, and this was in the morning when Pluto ingressed. And this is from I'm a astrologer that is centered in Los Angeles, so I'm going to cast the charts this way. So don't give a lot of importance to the houses, but give more importance to the aspects that the planets are making, because that's going to be the same everywhere. How that moment was captured, the same everywhere else. So another big thing that I noticed was Pluto was making a sextile to a sun in Aries. So it was triggering that cardinal point, the birth of the sun, the first of spring. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to mention before I move on to the next chart.
Just really quick, I wanted to mention that it's making a square to the nodes that at the time were in Taurus and Scorpio still.
Yes, yes. And this is like the last of the Taurus and Scorpio expression. And then from there, we go to the current transit into Aquarius again, which is where we're at now. So we're recording this on January the 12th. So about 8 days before Pluto goes into Aquarius again. And at this time, we've already had the nodes in Libra and in Aries. So a different expression of Venus and Mars, because Venus rules both Libra and Taurus. And the Mars is the ancient ruler of Scorpio, and it also rules Aries. So we're seeing a different expression of those two. But yeah, Pluto's not capturing that same square anymore. Pluto relieved that square. And during this time, we see Pluto conjunct the sun. That's like the strongest, and it actually is in Cazimi in the 29th degree of Capricorn. So a few days before Pluto and the sun go into Aquarius, which I just find that fascinating, because that is when Pluto aligns with the sun and gets a new reprogramming. It's actually a new cycle for Pluto. So it's really close. They're still at 0 degrees and 27 minutes. So I would still consider this Cazimi. I actually consider planets Cazimi when they're in the same degree. So the minutes, to be exact, it's supposed to be 17, but I consider it the same degree because it's still very potent. So that's just me. That's how I do it. So basically what I'm seeing is they Cazimi at 29-degree Capricorn and they dance together into the age of Aquarius.
I like that.
Anything else that you've noticed from this chart?
Yeah, it's making, I like what it's the aspect that Pluto is making to the moon in Gemini, still in air sign, and was that, what is that, a separating trine?
No, it's an applying trine,
Yeah, it's
right?
an applying
No,
trine.
no, 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 you're
No,
right. It's
separating. Yeah,
separating.
yeah.
It's
It's
separating
separate.
because the moon's gonna leave Gemini before the sun hits 5 degrees. Yes, it's a separating trine. You are
Yeah,
correct.
it's a separating trine. And it still brings that air element to the energy of the chart. So I really like that.
Yeah, and Aquarius is supposed to be the energy of Aquarius is, or the ruler Uranus that rules Aquarius is the higher octave of Mercury, which rules Gemini. So that nice connection, right? And in mundane astrology, the moon is the people and the sun is the kingdom. So we're seeing harmony, yet there's still power struggles. There's still that freedom and control archetype. um it's a signature that this Pluto and Aquarius will have, but this is not the last entry of Pluto and Aquarius. So the last chart is going to be the one that kind of carry us through. We also have a moon square Saturn, so there's some boundaries that need to be revisited, and this is um this is impacting the moon more than the sun and Pluto, but it's still making a semi-sextile to the sun and Pluto. But from the moon's perspective, really what kind of resonates with me when I see this is that there's a lot of information out there that is not accurate, and the people need to be very careful and have very good boundaries when it comes to influencing the mind. See, the moon has a connection to the mind, especially in the sign of Gemini, because Gemini already rules thoughts and speech and all that. So there is a good potential here to be more malleable and change our opinions and our thoughts and things like that. And it's coming through through Saturn energy, which is people in authority that are influencing us. However, because it is mutable, we can go the other direction too, where we're like, let's decipher this. Let's have a structure on how we're going to be influenced, or how this makes sense, or how it doesn't make sense, etc. And that's when you become more empowered. And they're making it's actually an exact square. It's also a separating square because the moon's already at 58 degrees. So that means the people have more of the power. They're escaping the manipulation of structure that doesn't work anymore. So, I mean, that looks good for me, but we're still going to see a lot of people that are influenced by what they hear. So do your research. Pluto, not Pluto, well, Pluto does love research, but Saturn also likes research. Saturn influences scientists, and scientists research everything. I mean, their whole thing is a research project, right? So their whole process is a research project. So do your research and really make sure that you're not influenced by things that kind of make sense. Like really go into it and study why and shape your own beliefs. So um those are the main things that I see. And then lastly, the last thing that I wanted to point out, Venus is exactly conjunct the galactic center. So I love the galactic center. It should be as strong as a strong spot in the chart as the sun, because that is what we're centered by. We're centered by that energy. And we can call it like the spiritual sun. So Venus aligning to that is awakening a lot of people, especially women. So we're seeing a big wave of awakening of women coming into power. And then I want to tie in Chinese astrology here because I study all forms of astrology, even though I'm a Western astrologer. The um the lunar new moon is setting in, and we're also changing periods. We're coming from period 8 to period 9, and this also shows this like this is the workup to changing of energies. And we're seeing in period 9 that the middle woman, or the middle-aged woman, so an example, if you still live with your parents and you're the middle child, you're the middle girl of the household, then you're gonna come into power in period 9, which is a 20-year period. And if you're a middle-aged woman, so just say like me, I'm middle-aged, I'm gonna be 40 next year, or not next year, in a few months. It's already 2024. In a few months, I'm turning 40, so I'm middle-aged, and this is going to be an empowering period for women. So you see this connection to the galactic center, how we're getting divine information or inspiration. And some of us won't get it. So you have to tune into it. You have to purposefully just kind of maybe meditate during this time, set intentions to calm the mind so you can get inspired somehow. So that was the current ingression we're going to experience. And then we just kind of wanted to show you a little bit of the last Pluto in Aquarius ingression, where um the last hurrah is Pluto going into Aquarius while there is a sun in Scorpio. And I mean, Pluto rules Scorpio. This is just like amazingly fitting that Pluto goes into Aquarius and it rules the sun during that time. It's just crazy how, these alignments express themselves. And it's also at the end of the Aries and Libra eclipse season, because the nodes are about to exit and go into Pisces and Virgo shortly after the last ingression, which happens November 19th of 2024. But we'll do a follow-up video about this, so we're not going to spend too much time. Just wanted to point out, now we have Pallas Athena on the galactic center, just like we had Venus. So we'll talk more about that later. And this is what we concluded, Emma and I, the evolution of all these ingressions. We first had this, what it reminded me, the energy reminded me of the first ingression. It was like the phoenix rising, because it happened right in the wee morning. And then we had the awakening of the underworld, which we're experiencing now, because this conjunction happens in the 8th house. And then we have the subconscious healing, because then the last ingression that we'll talk about later in a different video, Pluto goes into the 12th house and sits there. That energy sits with us for approximately 20 years, a little less than that. So we'll talk more about that. But I know Emma wanted to bring up a historical event that happened during Pluto in Aquarius.
Yeah, so the last Pluto in Aquarius was around 1777 to 1798. And what happened around that time was the French Revolution. So around that time, there was the monarchy in France. Like we all know the story of Marie Antoinette that was beheaded. So what happened around that time was the people started revolutionizing and taking the streets and saying enough is enough with the monarchy. So on July 14, 1789, actually, they stormed a prison and then distributed like weapons to everyone, and everyone started taking the streets and created this whole revolution where they basically dethroned the monarchy, and later on they went to establish a republic. It was the first time that France has seen a republic. And what it brought was basically they brought the power back to the people, basically. And they also implemented for the first time the rights for the citizen of the republic. It was the first time that the citizens had a right to vote, or to have just like any rights, basically. And I think we are the Pluto in Aquarius is like, that's basically what it reflects, is to have that collective freedom in a way.
Yeah, and the reason I had switched slides is because you said something that, I mean, I don't know much about the French Revolution, and just a little FYI, Emma speaks French. So she is a Haitian. So even though she wasn't directly influenced by the French, they have an influence in the place where she grew up, right? So there's this like connection she has to French history and things like that. And I'm pretty sure like going to school, they probably taught you a lot more than they taught me right? Because it's not as important to us since we're not French. We're at least not centered on it. But I don't know much, but I know when you mentioned that the people, Pluto being in the fourth, and the fourth being the homeland,
Hmm.
and then there's a trine to Neptune. And I was just like, Neptune. And when you said they give weapons, okay, they gave weapons to prisoners.
In the
The 12th
12th.
house is prisoners. Yeah. And it's I mean, that's one of the strongest expressions in the chart, as you see, because this is the day that it happened. And you can see how the it was like the right move to do, because the prisoners, they're already violent criminals. They're already criminals, are in jail. So they're going to be more yeah, let's go ahead and create more violence. Like, and they want freedom too, because they were freed. So I just found that very soothing when you said that. I was like, wait a minute, Neptune was in the 12th house. So I had to look. Sorry.
Yeah, and so it was basically this event that incited us in the colonies to gain our own independence and freedom. So that didn't happen until later on for us, but it was around that time that
The
groups
beginning.
started forming, like the slaves started getting together and forming groups to, they started doing certain like little battles here and there to gain their independence.
Yeah. Yeah. And look at all that. I mean, all the Leo energy, and Leo being the 10th house here. Um, and Uranus. So the ruler of the fourth going into the 10th, and pretty much just changing everything, even though this conjunction could seem like, oh, that's cool. Uranus and Jupiter and Venus all together, like it could look cool, but it's like Uranus had its own plans. It's like, nope. See, we're gonna
Yeah.
help the people out, and the people are gonna be violent towards the government. So I mean, we're not advocating anything like that, but it's just like, I mean, that had to happen. So the France that we know now is the France that we know now. So I mean, it was just a time where there are certain things that needed change, and Pluto in Aquarius brought that for them. Really quickly, I wanted to bring Queen Antoinette's chart. I've kind of been obsessed with her. I'm obsessed with her story, and I want to figure out her meanness in her chart, but that will be like a whole totally different like a different podcast. But she
Podcast.
does happen to have a Neptune in Leo right at that spot where we have all that conjunction, right? She was already dead by that time, but still, this all happened because of her. Like, she caused all this stuff that led for her to her beheading and all that. So and what I found really interesting was, like, look at that. She has Uranus in the 10th house. So her death caused a revolution.
Yeah.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. And I know you wanted to touch base on some of the celebs. There you go, the first one.
Okay, so the first Aquarius that I wanted to talk about was Oprah. So Oprah has not only her sun in Aquarius, but she also has Venus and Mercury in Aquarius. She actually has her sun and Venus conjunct at 8 degrees. And now Oprah is known for quite a few things, and one of them is, I think, is her visionary leadership, that skill that she has. Um, she has this, she started with a talk show, and then eventually she innovated and had her own media company. Something else that she's known for is, of course, her humanitarian acts and philanthropist. I can't say that word correctly. Philanthropy.
Yeah.
She's known for having, many charitable organizations and also giving donations to many charities. And even in her show, like, she's known for, giving back to the community. And also looking at her chart, I also see the ruler of her 10th house, the ruler of her MC is Venus, and Venus is in Aquarius. So I thought that was really cool about her chart. And then
And
she also has other things going on. She also has some stuff in her 11th house also. And we talked about the 11th house being the house of Aquarius, the community, the collective energy.
yeah. Yeah. And even her moon being there, and
Mm-hmm.
there's the ruler of the like, so the moon rules Cancer energy. It's ruling her south node and her
And
Uranus.
her Uranus, yeah.
So there, I mean, she's like a hidden Aquarian. I mean, well, not really hidden because she has a lot of planets there, but there's other people that like sometimes it's hard to see it. But then when you start analyzing your chart, you're like, oh, your signature is Aquarian right there. I see it. And she's from that
Yeah.
generation of Pluto and Leo.
In
So like
Leo.
I mentioned, it doesn't happen until later, right? She has the opposition 24
Yeah,
degrees.
it's gonna be a
So,
while.
but before that opposition occurs, she's having conjunctions. That's to her Venus and her Sun at the same time. So I'm predicting we're gonna hear more from Oprah.
Yeah, for
We're gonna
sure.
hear more from her. Yeah. Then we have Mr. Harry Styles.
Yeah, Mr. Harry Styles. So when I think Aquarius, I think Harry Styles. Um, so he has the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars in Aquarius. Now his time of birth is not confirmed. Um, so I'm not sure how reliable the chart actually is, but he has one, two, three, four planets in Aquarius. And the thing about him is that the way he expresses his style is very eccentric, I think. And he was able to break the norms in what, because he is a guy and he just was able to break the norms in the way that what he wears. If you look at the pictures, sometimes he's wearing a dress, he's wearing very colorful and very out of the box outfits, I want to call it. um Another thing about him is, he's done many interviews where people
Fashion.
ask him about his sexuality or his gender identity, and he said he doesn't really believe in labels or any barriers to how people love and live. So he's been very vocal about that, and I think this just like encompasses Aquarius.
Oh yeah, that's definitely Mars in Aquarius.
Yeah.
But what I was saying about, how you mentioned his fashion, he has his unique fashion and I mean, according to this, he's a Libra rising with a Libra moon and Aquarius sun. So the ruler of the moon and his rising is Venus conjunct his Aquarius sun. I mean, he is a signature of Aquarius. So if this
Mhm.
is accurate, he's pretty much an Aquarius archetype, like a walking Aquarius
Aquarius.
archetype.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
even when he was in a band, when he was in One Direction, he was always standing out from the rest of the group with just the way that he dresses. I remember one time my friend sent me a picture of like One Direction, and she was like, "Spot the Aquarius." Yeah.
Yeah, so and he's a generation with Pluto and Scorpio, so he's gonna have a square, but before he even has that square, he's gonna
He's gonna
have a
have all
conjunction
the
to his Mars. Boom, boom. So we're also gonna hear a lot from him. He's gonna be mentioned a lot. But then he's also gonna want some privacy because this is all triggering his fourth house. So there's a lot of changes coming for him, a lot of
yeah,
internal changes, directional
definitely. Yeah.
changes for him. Yeah. And then lastly, the man that
Lastly,
everyone talks about.
Lastly, Mr. Elon Musk. Now, he is not in Aquarius, but I still wanted to put his chart because he does have Mars and the North Node in Aquarius. And I believe this chart is pretty accurate. It's not double A rating, but it's been the chart that's been passed around. The ruler of his MC and his 10th house is Mars, and it's in Aquarius. So I think with him, we can see that in the work that he does. He brought like innovation and progress, and not only in Tesla but also with SpaceX and everything.
And
um
PayPal.
yeah, yeah, PayPal. I think he really has that like visionary goal that like the Aquarius signature carries. And we also see that with Uranus squaring his Sun, his Mercury, and his rising.
Yes. Yes. I mean, almost everything leads back to this Aquarian energy. Like we're looking at like if we analyze his chart, I mean, he already has planets in Aquarius. There's some people that don't end up having planets in Aquarius, but then they still have like a strong Uranus or a strong Saturn. But he has Mars and the North Node, and the North Node is a destiny point. And it's something that we want to eventually develop as we get older. So he was born with a South Node in Leo. So he naturally came from a advantage place. And I know he says he wasn't as advantaged, but he was more advantaged than the average person, right? And he
Yeah, for
took
sure.
that. And then from there, he innovated. So he went to the other side, the Aquarian side, and a lot, his ideas really changed humanity. I mean, the first, and I'm not going to say his ideas because a lot of them he purchased into them, but you're not going to invest in a company if you don't necessarily align to it. And I've actually prepared, and we're not going to talk about this. So we'll set another time that Emma and I can talk about it. Um, when he purchased Tesla and how aligned the Tesla company is to Elon's chart. And Tesla was already a corporation before Elon purchased it. So it already had its own natal chart. And the synastry between Elon and Tesla is just uncanny. It's crazy. So a lot of the things that he ended up being a part of, it was through a group of people and a group of ideas. Yet he was also the one that would bring in that fiery innovation because he has the Mars in Aquarius. And a lot of the things that they say about him is that he's a workaholic, he seems detached. Makes total sense. Mars in Aquarius, and it's the ruler of his MC. So of course he's gonna, and conjunct the North Node, he's gonna perseverate on his legacy, on the work that he does, and how he is impacting society. Additionally, his moon is ruled by Mercury, right? And Mercury is conjunct his ascendant, and Mercury is in the sign of Cancer. So it's still, with that, like it's an energy of like feeling like he is bringing advantages into the home. And I actually read years ago, I read his plan. It was online somewhere of like how he is planning to advertise Tesla to people, like their marketing plan. There you go. And one of it was like impacting the home, like and the clientele was like working class. And so, I mean, most of America is working class. So it's just interesting how all these points that he has in his chart really hit home with an alignment to that innovative car that he is part of. He didn't invent. I do want to point that out. It's the car was already established, but then he took that company to another level. And I mean, all companies want investors. Who wouldn't want someone to come and be like, "Hey, I'll give you X amount of money and you have creative freedom to grow your company." It's like, yes, I think all entrepreneurs are into that, right?
So one thing that I want to mention about that, you said he didn't really invent anything and it's all been investments. Well, he has his Mars in the eighth house, which is investments.
Hmm.
And
Yep,
Aquarius rules his eighth house. Yeah.
exactly. So, I mean, and he has an eye for them, right? And an eye for
Hmm.
investment. He's been investing in technology the way that, so
And he doesn't only just invest, like he progresses with what he purchased in.
exactly,
He
exactly.
innovates.
Yes, innovates it, makes it better. And I mean, that is the partner, the ideal partner that you want. A lot of companies start with like a great idea. They just don't have the capital to reach the masses. So he's an ideal person. If he sees that the company or the essence of the company is something that can reach the masses, that and help and also create money for him, then he's all in, right? I mean, he does have this Jupiter in Scorpio placement too. So this Jupiter in Scorpio placement is good with other people's money.
Yeah.
Other people, I mean, come on. And it's making a square to his Mars, it's making a square to his North Node. So opposition to it's not a complete opposition, but it's still there with an orb to Saturn. So it's highly, that Jupiter is highly aspected with that conjunction to Neptune. So what is he doing? He's creating a lot of companies' dreams come true.
And it's also in a perfect sextile with Pluto.
Yes. Yes. So he's another Aquarian signature. Doesn't look like it's an Aquarian signature. Yeah, that's cool that you brought that up. The Pluto in Aquarius, I'm sorry, the Pluto and Jupiter aspect is usually a signature of very wealthy people, millionaires, but the Jupiter and Neptune is a signature of billionaires. And then you combine it with already the Jupiter. So he has a double whammy. He has a Jupiter sextile Pluto, and then the Neptune conjunct Jupiter and sextile Pluto. So yeah, he's a billionaire. We know that. I mean, he does have that square with that placement. Jupiter does have a square, so some of his investments will cost some money and will be risky because he has a square, but it's really well aspected. And if he has great boundaries and like very strict rules on things that are risky or like how he's taking risks, then he can prevent this from manifesting in a very drastic manner or fashion. He will still lose money and then gain money again and lose it again. As long as he's conservative, he'll protect his assets. And lastly, one company that he invested into is called Boxable. Have you heard of Boxable?
No.
Okay. I've been obsessed
Actually,
with,
actually, I think I have. I might
yes,
have.
yes, I've been obsessed with it. So it's a new way of doing real estate where you order a house and it's already pre-made. It's like building a Lego. Not as easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. And the house gets delivered to you. They
Right, right.
construct it up like they build it up like master builders, bloop, bloop, bloop. And there you go. You have the house within like a day versus like the way that we're building now is like very old and outdated. So he's bringing innovation to structural like structural buildings, and that really suits. If there's anything we need to perfect in his chart, it might be that this Uranus needs to get closer to the IC because that would bring the energy of Uranus closer to the home, the structure of the home, innovation into the home. But yeah, he has investment in that company. And even in whole signs, it'll be in the fourth house because this is first, second, third, fourth. So that's another very successful venture. They sold out immediately. Like as soon as they announced it, they sold out and they're in back order and now they're advancing it. They're having Boxable for boats, Boxable 2 stories, but they started with one like garage sized home. And it was like a beautiful little tiny loft looking thing where you have a living room, a bed, a restroom, and a tiny little kitchenette and a little dining area in the kitchen. And now they're evolving it. And I mean, you could just need to buy a piece of land and make sure the foundation is good and then plop your innovation on top and there you have a brand new house. Now, how long lasting, how durable, I don't know of those materials, but I mean, yeah, even the homes we have now, especially in California, you're investing in purchasing a home. A lot of these homes have mold and things like that. And it's so expensive to just like break everything down and start all over again. So having something like that would be amazingly more cost effective for people. So I see also that changing in the transit of Pluto and Aquarius. We're going to see a lot of those changes and he's going to bring a lot of these changes. He's also going to have some activations during that time because as
Yeah.
soon as Pluto goes into Aquarius, eventually in the middle, right on the tension degrees, he has the conjunction to his north node and he's already been having some activation. So yeah, very interesting. Good finds, Emma. Love it. So I really hope you all enjoyed this podcast. Again, we're going to have more follow-ups on Pluto and Aquarius. Remember, this is about a 20-year transit. So there's a lot to talk about when it comes to Pluto and Aquarius. It's not just one and done. There's more things. There's transits, there's major conjunctions that happened. I mean, we're going to have the Jupiter and Uranus conjunction in October, no, not October, April
April.
20th. Yeah, so that's with already Pluto being in Aquarius. So there's a lot of things going on during this time that carry that essence of the Uranian archetype. So thank you. And of
Yeah.
course, we're all obsessed with the Aquarius and Uranian archetype here as astrologers because Uranus rules astrology. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this year, and I'm really excited for the Pluto and Aquarius transit. Like you, I am very pro AI and all this development, this technological development that is taking place.
Said the Aquarius sun.
Yes.
Yeah, because Emma's the Aquarius sun with a moon in Sag, so that's also a very like, futuristic.
Hmm.
Uh,
Pluto is getting ready to sextile my moon actually.
See, so that's probably gonna be that happens before, huh? It sextiles your moon, then eventually
Yeah. It's gonna
conjuncts
be
your
this year
sun.
at 1 degree.
Yeah, and then after that, it trines your ascendant.
Yeah, my rising, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So good Pluto stuff for you. Okay. Well, thank you. And we will see you,
Thank
babe, for
you.
another episode of the Cosmic Hour. Bye.
Bye.